الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
صلوا على الله.
اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام وقال: السلام، وقال: يا فاطمة إني أجدني في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. قال: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: وعليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. وما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله. أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل فقال السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء. فقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ وقال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن هاربهم وسلم لمن صلبهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، واجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكتاب. فقال الأمين جبريل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبريل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أحبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الأمين جبريل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يكرمك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مذيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنني يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنهم الرجس وتطهرهم تطهيرا فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفعل شيعتنا ورب الكعبة فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله حما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فعلوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ना महमिल है ना हौज़ज है ना लश्कर की वो सद धज है ना सर पे अलम ना साया है अल्लाह ये कैसा मंजर है मुसाफिरां ने मुसीबत वतन में आते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं किया सलाम में मोहम्मद के आस्ताने को, लुटा के ए है जहरा के सब घराने को, ना कर कबूल तू हम बेकसों के आने को, ये नौहा करते हैं और अश्क खून बहाते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं मदीना हम तेरे वाली को आए हैं खोकर, मदीना कूफे में सरनंगे हम फिरे दर दर, मदीना दा गैरसन है हमारे शानों पर, उठा के हाथे मदीने को ये सुनाते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं हर एक कदम है बुका कब, लबों पे बैन नहीं, हमारे जिंदा प्या जहरा का नूर ऐन नहीं, मदीना अकबरों का सिम नहीं, हुसैन नहीं, ये कैसे जवान थे जो याद आते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं मदीने वालों कहो उस बहन की क्या तकदीर, जो देखे अपने बिरादर के खल्क पर शमशीर, लहू में गर्क जो देखे हुसैन की तस्वीर, लहू में क्या यूं ही भाई का सर दिखाते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं बताओ कहते हैं क्या सब उस सम्मा जाई को, जो अरबई ने तलक दे कफन न भाई को, बहन दिखाएगी मुंह किस तरह खुदाई को, कफन दिया है ना उन की लहद बनाते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं चला बशीर ये देता हुआ खबर हर जा, मगर महल लाए हाशिम में देखता है क्या, है एक मरी जासरे राह में खड़ी तन्हा, है मुंतजिर के वो कुन बे के लोग आते हैं मुसाफिरान ने मुसीबत, वतन में आते हैं खबर ये फैली तो मातम हर एक घर में हुआ, निकल निकल पड़ी सब औरतें बरह ना पा, गेरी जमीन पे सुग राके उस पे चरख गिरा, जो सोगवारे हैं सुगरा के पास आते हैं। मुसाफिरां ने मुसीबत वतन में आते हैं, फिजाए दर्द में लेकर उदासियां आई, सफर से लुट के इधर भूख की प्यासियां आई। उठो रसूल तुम्हारी नवासियां आई, के खुद को ऊंटों से ले हरम गिराते हैं। मुसाफिरां ने मुसीबत वतन में आते हैं, सफर से आते हैं सौगाते दर्द लाते हैं। मुसाफिरां ने मुसीबत वतन में आते हैं।
बारे दीगर सलवात। हम शीर को चादर न भाई को कफन है। हम शीर को चादर है, न भाई को कफन है। शबीर सा भाई है, न ज़ैनब सी बहन है। इस जुल्म से मारा गया ज़हरा का दुलारा, इस जुल्म से मारा गया ज़हरा का दुलारा। सर ने पे और रेत पे मजरूह बदन है। सर ने पे और रेत पे मजरूह बदन है। जिसके लिए आती रही जन्नत से कबाए, लाशा से मजलूम का मोहताज कफन, लाशा से मजलूम का मोहताज कफन है। बेदस्त हुआ नर पे अब्बास दिलगीर के हाथों में रसन है। प्यासा था दमे कत्ल जो 6 माह के दिन में असगर सा ज़माने में कोई तृष्णा दहन है। माँ जाए ने सर दे दिया, माँ जाए ने चादर, माँ जाए ने सर दे दिया, माँ जाए ने चादर। ईसा मोहम्मद के घराने का जनन है। कानों का लहू जिस पे है दुर्रों की निशाबी, कानों का लहू जिस पे है दुर्रों की निशाबी, कुर्ता की मासूम सकीना का कफन है। अरे कुर्ता वही मासूम सकीना का कफन है। शब्बीर नाकबर है नासगर न सकीना, शब्बीर नाकबर है नासगर न सकीना, सुगरा के लिए अब कोई घर है ना वतन है। शब्बीर सां बाई है ना ज़ैनब सी बहन है। सल्लल्लाहु
MashaAllah, that was a beautiful recitation from both Brother Ali over here and before him, Brother Ali Raza. Now I'd like to swiftly go on with the main segment of this event with Brother Sayyid Ali Abbas Fashori, who will be speaking about a Husseini template for unity. I'd like to invite him up to the member with a loud salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. سورة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا مولانا حبيب إله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله الآخر لحظي من زيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا باب نجاة الأمة، يا عبرة لكل مؤمن ومؤمنات، غريب مظلوم كربلاء. فيا ليتني يا ليتني كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. ما بعد، قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. When multiple different things come together as one, that's known and defined as unity. When things which are separate and different and have their own origin are organized correctly and brought together, in which each one has the ability to join one another, they become one unified unit. For example, if multiple bricks are connected together, whereas previously they were original and different bricks, when they come together, they become one solid wall. Another example, a soldier may belong to his own family and live separately to other soldiers, but when he's called to come, he and other soldiers have the same flag and the same weapons, and they stand in the same line, and they become one unified army. What was previously separate becomes one. When an individual is at home, you and I, we have our own ideas, our upbringing, our hobbies, and our habits. But when we come together, we become one unified qawm, one ummah. Our aim is on this final type of unity, where although I'm separate and I'm different and I have my own lifestyle and my own choices that I make, I choose to come together. And I want to identify myself under a banner. And I have chosen the banner of Wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. I want to be known by being part of this group. That all of the groupings I could belong to, I wish to be someone who is identified as being among the Shia of Ahlul Bayt. Now, our topic is about how we can use the days of Muharram and the days of Azar and all of the lessons of the period of Azar to leave these days with unity and with real unity. Let me tell you why it's so important. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Maybe you're familiar with this cycle. Those of you who are older and are more experienced most certainly are. Muharram starts, we get our black clothes together, we go to the Majlis. 10 days of Muharram are the jewel of these 2 months and 8 days. And then there's Arba'in. And in between there are different Majalises. You attend the Majlis, okay, you learn a few points. Many times you hear the same thing which you've heard our whole lives, but it's reinforced so we know how to practice it. Whether it's Ahkam or Furu or the same 15 verses of Quran which are about Ali Abi Talib quite clearly, even though you could argue almost 1,000 verses are about Ali, but still. Then you come towards Arba'in, everyone comes back to the center, then we go for the Julus in Ma'balaj, or someone will go to Karbala for Arba'in. Then you come back, you have a few Majalis, Eid al-Zahra comes, and then it's finished. It's done. Eid al-Zahra is here, 2 months and 8 days are done. Okay, we go back to our own lives. Maybe we come back in Fajr, and maybe we come in Shahr Ramadan, but then we're really waiting till the next Muharram. It's as if we put a pause from Eid al-Zahra to continue ideally from 1st of Muharram. And what we lose is the entirety of the year in between. Now, the one of wisdom spends these 2 months, 8 days with so much access to Abu Abdullah, to his azar, to ulama, and says, you know what, I'm going to take at least 1 or 2 things and I'm going to make it part of who I am. And I'm going to leave the majlis and I'm going to actually do practice on this, at least 1 or 2 things that I have heard. My suggestion to all of you, and what we're looking over the next 4 nights, inshallah, is if we are clever in how we piece together our shura, we have with us a template to make our qawm a unified qawm, not just tomorrow, but until the end of our lives. Because Abu Abdullah, Sayyid al-Shuhada Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, his mission is not a seasonal mission which you begin and end at your convenience. His mission is a complete movement of islah of this ummah, complete reform. If we are an ummah and I am going to reform my ummah, I have to be united. So inshallah, today, tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that, inshallah, we'll explore this topic of how do I find the right pieces of the puzzle of Ashura to make for myself a picture of how I can be part of a unified qawm, inshallah. Our discussion today comes from the verse of Quran which I mentioned. وَاعْتَصِمُوا حَبْلَ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. We'll come to what that means later. We'll see, inshallah, how this verse gives us a very clear template of why and how we should have genuine unity. And inshallah, I will end each lecture, like I will today, with a very practical piece of advice for us here in South London, of where we actually live, of what at least one thing we can do to do amal of the point of unity of that discussion, which I'll do today, inshallah. Today, what is it? Why do we need unity? Unity under what banner, what flag, why? Tomorrow we will see, inshallah, how do I make sure that I have genuine brotherhood between anyone else wanting the same unity, true walaya between us. Then on the third night, we'll see that if someone comes to us and wants to divide us, as they have done in our past and our present, whether they're inside or outside, and they want to split us apart, and they want to use either azar or go against azar to make us separate, how do we answer them as a unified block, inshallah? And on the final night, we will see that when I leave the days of Muharram, how do I make sure my unity is for the sake of my Imam of my time as well, inshallah? So those are the 4 nights. But we begin today by seeing what is unity and why and under what banner do we become unified, inshallah. If you are with me for today's discussion, inshallah, if I have your attention for the next few minutes, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And like I mentioned, alhamdulillah, I see so many youth among us that we're all youth really. We want to make sure we are all raised under the banner of our Imam. So to send salutations from Zamana, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa'tasim. Come together, join together. Bihablillahi jami'an. Wala tafarraqu. Join together and hold on to the rope of Allah and do not become splintered or disunified from this rope. That's what the verse means. Surah Al Imran, verse 103. Wa'tasim. Come together and hold on. Hold firmly to hablullah, to the rope which leads you directly towards Allah Azza wa Jal. And don't allow yourselves to become disunified or to go astray from this rope. Let's break this verse down a little bit more. Wa'tasim was not just follow or listen. Wa'tasimu is grab onto, hold onto this thing. So whatever's about to come, my responsibility, and this is general to all of us, is grab onto this thing. Don't let go of it. Don't let it pass you by. Make it an urgency that I'm going to hold on to this thing, wherever it is. Wa'tasimu. Bihablillah, the rope of God, that thing that Allah throws to you for you to grab onto to find Him. Jami'an, all together. Not me on my own. I can't do this thing alone. We have to come together to hold on to this rope. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't allow yourself to become split away from it and hold on to anything else. Go back to this rope of God. Okay, what does it mean? Let's break it down even more. The Quran mentions وَاعْتَصِمُوا earlier, where it says وَاعْتَصِمُوا or وَمَنْ يَعْتَصِمُوا يَعْتَصِمُ اللَّهُ فَقَدْ حُدَارِ الصِّرَاطِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Whoever holds on to Allah, they are the one who's genuinely going to Sirat al-Mustaqim. Now, everyone reads the verse, Sirat al-Mustaqim, we read it all the time. But only those who hold on to the rope of Allah will find Sirat al-Mustaqim. Otherwise, you don't find it. You spend a whole life praying, saying, Sirat al-Mustaqim, Sirat al-Mustaqim. Quran says, faqad, only those, those who are guided, are those who actually hold on to this rope. So the question is, what's that rope? Well, let's look a little bit further. Hablullah al-Jami'ah. Everyone come together. So here's the first injunction for unity. Unity is me and you coming together and holding on to this rope. Jami'an, the Mufassirin says, used here to mean that you can't do it alone and you become a qawm because you come together to hold on to this rope. The Quran mentions in other places, for example, about this rope, Hablin min Allah wa hablin min al-nas. This rope is a link to you and God. And you are known as a member of Nas, of the people. And because you're among the people, you're going back to Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't be misguided. Don't become distracted. Don't allow yourself to go astray. Go back to this rope. Now, what is this rope? Initially, the verse I mentioned earlier is about the Quran. And many ulama say, Hablullah, the rope of God, which He throws to you, is His book, the Quran. He gave you this book with so many clear verses about spirituality and law, which was made for everyone to follow. This is Hablullah, the rope of God. This book, which has been sent to me and you, inshallah, that we can follow, takes us towards Allah. Allama Tabatabai about this explains for us that Hablullah, the rope of Allah, is like a rope from Allah to you. It's like a rope being thrown from heaven to the earth. And you have to choose, do I grab onto this rope or not? That rope is, for example, Quran. The Holy Prophet is Hablullah, and he brings Hablullah with him. Unfortunately, there are many communities in the past who were given a book, but they did not hold on to it the way we've been told to hold on to it. For example, and do not turn away. This word is used often for Banu Israel, that they were given a book and they were given so many prophets, but they still turned away. They still went astray. Nabi Musa ala Nabina, after him, there were 71 sects which were formed. And of them, just one was actually following the book of Musa. About Nabi Isa, in the hadith we have 72 sects were formed after him. And only one of those groups actually followed the book of Nabi Isa. After our Prophet, 73 sects were formed. Of those 73, only one actually follows Quran as Hablullah. We have in our riwayat, most of them don't, they go astray. Only one, and 72 who are astray, and one is actually following the rope of God. So the Prophet ﷺ says that after my death, I know that most people are going to abandon Hablullah. And he says, you know what they will do? You know what a rope is? A rope is where you have those pieces of rope which are entwined among one another. They are twirled around, and it is the way that they entwine, they become strong. They are fully entangled in them. The Prophet says, after I die, some people are going to untangle the rope of God after me. They will not follow it. They will untangle the strands of Hablullah and they will not follow. Whereas what is Hablullah? Hablullah is, of course, the Quran that we follow. Hablullah is more than Quran, because when the Prophet says, and we have another riwayat where the Prophet says that Hablullah is when you place your hand on the Quran and Allah places his hand on the Quran. By his hand will be metaphorically, Allah holds on to it as well. And between you and Allah, there's something which is pulling you towards him. And that's the book of Allah. He says, place your hand on the book of Allah. Allah is holding the other end. This rope's taking you towards him. However, in the Quran, sometimes even the hands of Rasulullah are called the hands of Allah. For example, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Everyone's coming to give bay'ah to the Holy Prophet. They're taking the Prophet's hand, they're giving bay'ah. You are my Prophet, you are my Prophet, I'm going to follow you. Either Al-Fath or Ridwan. The verse is revealed. You're not giving bay'ah to Rasulullah, you're giving bay'ah to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Even though your hands are in his hands, Yallahu fawqa aydihim. God's hands are upon your hands. Which means Hablullah is not just the book, it's also the hands which bring the book. Yani Hablullah is the Quran and the Rasul who receives wahi of Quran to his heart. That's Hablullah. So Hablullah has become much wider now. The rope of God now is the book and the one who brings it. Let's make it wider. When the Holy Prophet goes to Ghadir, he speaks. He says, Inni tarikum fikum wathaqalain kitab Allahi wa itati. I'm leaving behind for you two things, the book of Allah and my family. In the actual riwayat, the Prophet says, I'm leaving behind for you Hablullah, the rope of God. Stay true to the rope of God. It has two parts. One part is the book, one part is my Ahlul Bayt. They will stay together in the way, I'm adding now, the way that a rope is entwined together until the day of judgment, and they'll come to the pool of gold. So when the Prophet says, now it makes sense, right? That the rope of God, when I die, some people will come and they will try and disentangle the rope of God, split it open. You see what he means? He means when Quran and Ahlul have been sent together, they'll try and split it. Let's go one step further. So Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Remember, we want to know, how do I get unity? That's our aim. The verse has come, unify, holding the rope of God. It's very clear. And don't go astray. We mentioned, well, I should know what the rope of God is to know how to unify. The rope of God is Quran, is Rasulullah. What is the rope of God? One day the Prophet is walking. A Bedouin man comes to him and says, Ya Rasulullah. The verse has been revealed. Hold on to the rope of God. Don't be astray. What's that rope of God? The Prophet turns, takes the hand of Ali and says, Hada hablullah. This man is the rope of God. Yani Ali ibn Abi Talib, he becomes the rope of Allah. We just brought Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Hada hablullah. This is the rope of God. And the man says, I want to know, how do I follow you? He says, if you want to follow me, the rope of Allah is this hand. So when the day of Ghadir comes, and the Prophet is holding the hand of Ali saying, Man kuntu mawla fahada aliyun mawla. This is not the first time he's held the hand of Ali. On this day, he says, if you want to go back to Allah and hold on to a rope taking you to God, hold the hands of Ali ibn Abi Bakr alayhi salam. More than this, he says, not just this, if you want to look at the face of someone who is from Jannah, look at the face of this Ali. This is hablullah, the rope of God to Allah. Why? Because Rasulullah says, An-nadratun aliyun ibadah. Looking at the face of Ali is ibadah. More than this, hada afdalu ibadah. This is the great ibadah. Looking at the face of Ali is ibadah. Why? Ali is the rope of God. Looking at this rope takes you towards Allah. This is hablullah. This is the rope of God. Not just Ali. Muhammad Sadiq says, Nahnu hablullah. We are all hablullah. We are all this rope. Every single one is taking back towards God. So true unity is under Hablullah. True Hablullah is the book and the Rasul and Ahlul Bayt. Unify under their banner and don't go away from the banner of Ahlul Bayt. Now someone might say, hold on a second, stop just for a second. We just mentioned Hablullah is Quran. I literally said it 5 minutes ago. Hablullah is the Quran. Quran is the rope of God. Now here come the Shia adding a new line saying Hablullah is Ahlul Bayt. Where does this come from? Oh, let me say one thing. The Prophet has said, not only I leave behind Quran and Ahlul Bayt, but he has said, Al-Quran ma'a Ali wa Ali ma'a Quran. The Quran is with Ali and Ali is with the Quran. More than this, on the day of Siffin, when they're coming to the Imam alayhi salam and they're fighting against him with pages of the Quran ripped out and put on spears, Imam Ali says, that's the silent Quran, ana Quran natiq, I'm the speaking Quran. Follow me if you want to know what the book of Allah is. So true Hablullah is not just following the book which is silent, it's following the speaking book. So it's okay, 1 second. Allah is haqq. Allah is the truth. The path to Allah must be the path of haqq. Hablullah is the path of haqq. Where do we find Ali? We answer and say, did the Prophet not say Ali ma'al haqq wal haqq ma'ali? Ali is with the truth and the truth is with Ali. I get Ali is with the truth. Whatever he said is true. But the truth is Ali, meaning the truth knows it's true by following Ali ibn Abi Bakr alayhi salam. Meaning what? I know a companion is good if he loves Ali. I know a companion is munafiq if he hates Ali. Because the Prophet said, Ya Ali, a mu'min can never hate you, a munafiq can never love you. Ya Hablullah is much wider than just one thing. Hablullah is the whole system of wilayah. This whole system. And Imam Sallallahu says, Nahnu, we are Hablullah, we are that rope. All of us take you towards God. Now go back to the verse, knowing what happens after the death of the Holy Prophet. People go away from Quran, they leave Ahlul Bayt, they abandon them. That's why this verse is a reminder to them, go back to Hablullah. No matter how far you've strayed, you should never be away from the shade of Ali Muhammad. So our fifth Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. The reason for this verse is this, that Allah knew, this is I think in Tafsir al-Qur'an, Allah knew that after the death of the Prophet, so many people are going to go astray. He wanted to give a verse to remind them to go back towards God. Because if you think about it logically, there are, as I mentioned earlier, 73 sects of the Prophet, 73 ways of thinking. Of them, just one is actually true. So someone said to the Holy Prophet, how do we know which one is true? And he says, the true of all of them is the one which follows. They actually follow this. They hold on to the rope of God. Now I say this to you, thinking about our topic for the next 4 nights, and think about this honestly. If there are 73 groups which are split off, and of them just one is following Hablullah, following Ali Muhammad the way they're intended to be followed, just one. Why, if we have just one true path of wilayat, are we so disunified? We have just one actual path. Okay, within this one path, this person has this view, this alim has that view, this group has that view. There's disunity within one habl. Why? We are in the minority of the minority. And within the minority, we're trying to split up that rope to have different ropes within it. I know Ali, you don't know Ali. My path is right path, your path is wrong. Hablullah jami'an. Everyone comes together for the rope of God. So why, if we are just one out of 73, is that one split so far? Why are there so many groups within Shiism? That's what we're going to address for the next few nights. If there's one rope of God, how do I use Imam Hussein alayhi salam so accurately to take away disunity and go back to Allah as a group of azadar in this world? Inshallah. Now, the next point to discuss about this is if you are with me, inshallah, and there is one rope of God, and that's the rope of Ahlul Bayt. We agree so far. Do you guys agree, inshallah? One rope of God, Ahlul Bayt. I know this. Imam Hussein comes to remind me to go back to Hablullah. I, when going back towards God, can't go to God alone. This is so important. I can't do this alone. I need you to find Allah. And you need the other believers to find Allah. You can't do this alone. The path towards Allah is a path of jami'an, everyone together, like I mentioned. So I can't even know Allah accurately without you helping me. What do I mean? We have a concept in our religion, we Surah Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. A concept about ma'rifah of Allah Azza wa Jal. One of my teachers, Sheikh Shumari, Allah bless him, made a very good distinction in our lessons. He said there is 2 concepts. One is unity of God, one is unity in God. They're 2 different things. You can't get either one without the other people around you. I can't know God, I can't be one with God without you. How? We go to the Quran to understand. Allah says, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, Sanurihim ayati fil afaq wa fi anfusihim. There are some signs of God which you will see in the horizons, and some signs you will see in yourself. In this verse, there are 2 methods of knowing God. One, aqlan, one qalban. What do I mean? We go Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Sanurihim ayati fil afaq. Awalan, there are some signs of God you're going to see when you look in the horizon. You look at the sun and the moon and the stars, and you see the signs of God and this design of this universe, and you think to yourself, what the fuck are you think to yourself? Who could have created this except Allah? Who could have made this system if not Allah? And you find yourself going back towards Allah. This first part is completely rational. It's aqlan. Islam is a rational religion, and we have so many proofs of God which are purely rational. The argument from wujud, the argument from cosmology, the argument which is teleological, the argument from design, the ontological argument, all these hujjat of Allah Azza wa Jal, they're all proofs which are rational. There must be an uncaused cause. There must be a prime mover. There must be a system of cause and effect. There must be someone who is creating the idea you can imagine. There must be someone who created the watch in the desert, one who created the universe. All these ideas are all rational. Half of this knowing God in this verse is knowing Allah rationally, knowing Him aqlan. Now, I can't know Allah rationally without someone helping me. Why? Why is this so important? We have a hadith Qudsi where Allah says that I created you so that you may know me. It's an arif. Maybe I know something about Allah. You know something about Allah. Another person knows another idea of Allah. Can one person know everything about Allah? No, because Allah's true essence, His dhat, is much wider than the way my mind can understand. My mind is limited. So maybe I know 1%, okay, maybe 2%. Maybe you know 3%, another person knows 4%. If we come together, we can combine our knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal to make a much wider piece of who He is. That's aqlan, that's rational, okay? Our prophets were sent to awaken the aql. We are told that every individual has 2 prophets, one which is internal, one which is external. The internal prophet is your mind. When no one's there and no one's watching, do I follow Islam or not? Am I actually following this religion? Do I believe in it truly when I'm alone? This is the internal prophet. It's the aql in your mind guiding towards right and wrong. In our usul, we have a principle called husn wa qub aqli, which means you can know right and wrong by using your mind to some degree. You don't need someone to tell you don't kill. I know I shouldn't kill. I don't need someone to come and tell you don't murder or don't lie. These are aqlan, bad things to do. It's obvious I shouldn't do these things. But sometimes we forget. When we forget, an external prophet comes and reminds us of that thing and awakens our minds. This is Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, do you see the sun and the moon? Do you see وَالشَّمْسُ وَضُحَاهَا? Do you see وَالضُّحَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى? Do you see وَالشَّمْسُ يَنبَغِي لَهَا? Do you see this universe? There's so many signs. Why don't you follow God then? And a whole community of mushrikeen realized, or among them some realized, to follow Allah. Sayyidah Fatima sallallahu alayha. In her khutbah fadakiyah, she says that a prophet came to you, my father came to you. He saw how misguided you were and he took you from the brinks of destruction towards Tawheed. He showed you Allah. He guided you. He was my father, not your father's. And he was married to my cousin, not your cousin's. He destroyed the ideas of the mushrikeen and he broke their brackets of kufr with iman. He was my father and he brought you towards deen. That's what? Tawheed, knowledge of God. Then we have another version, which is unity in God, where not only you know Allah, you become at one with the words and the names of Allah. Now I'm living such a life that I'm becoming a sign towards God. And I see those signs and in myself, in my own soul. I look in myself and I see myself as a sign of God. For example, Aba Billah is Allah. Imam Hussein has become a sign towards God. Not just sign towards God. Thar means technically means blood. Hussein has become the blood of Allah. Now, the right way to understand this is, as our ulama say, it means that Hussein has had a transaction with God. He has shown us who Allah is. He keeps pointing us towards Allah. But now, by giving his life, he becomes at one with Allah Azza wa Jalla. And because he does this, Allah must give him something black. Thar is blood. The one you give back to is one you give blood money. Hussein becomes the compensation of Tawheed, where if you want to follow Allah, you have to find Hussein. This is the great sacrifice. This Hussein alayhi salam is the sign of Allah. And he becomes the thing by which we will have, inshallah, the revenge. Thar Allah means revenge for the sake of the blood that was shed on the day of Karbala. Here's something about Hussein alayhi salam, which is relevant for all of us. Above the is Thar Allah, he is the blood of Allah. He is that sign of Allah. If you go near him, you yourself become a sign of Allah. The closer you get to Aba Abdullah, the closer you get towards Hablullah. The closer to Hablullah, the closer you get towards Allah himself. I'll give you an example. When they're leaving from Medina to go towards Karbala, Abu Abdullah says, I'm on the path towards Allah. Someone says, Ya Hussein, the enemy are following us, they're pursuing us, they're going to find us. Why don't we take a different road, not this one, and go towards a different place? Abu Abdullah says, I am on the road towards Allah. Only Allah will take me off this road. That's Hussein alayhi salam. The closer you are to him, the more similar to him you become. For example, further on in the very same road, again they say, Ya Aba Abdullah, the enemy are coming, they're getting even closer, what do? Ali Akbar alayhi salam is there. Someone says to him, Ya Ali Akbar, the enemy are coming, they are bearing down on us on the same road, what do? Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam replies, that Ya Rasul, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, O son of Rasulullah, Ya Aba Abdullah, are we on the path of Allah? Yes, of course we are. Then he says, whether we go to death or death comes to us doesn't make a difference. These words are someone who's following Abu Abdullah. The closer you are to him, the more similar you become to him. Hussein says, God will take me off this road. The son of Hussein says, I'm going towards Allah. Whether death comes to me or I go to death, why does it matter when the destination is Allah? The closer you are to him, the more you do his dhikr, the more you do his masad, the more you cry him, the more like him you become. I'll give you one more example. When Abu Abdullah reaches Karbala, the moment he reaches this land, he sends a letter to Muhammad Hanafiya. In that letter he writes to him, Ya Muhammad Hanafiya, I have reached Karbala. It is as if there had never been any dunya and there had only ever been akhirah. And these lines are very deep. It's as if there was no words, there was just the afterlife. And Hussein is already ready to see Allah. He's ready. Is it there's only akhirah? I don't see this dunya anymore. I just see Allah now. Okay, that's when he arrives. Now come to 9th of Muharram. Hur is standing in his home, thinking to himself in his tent. I place myself between heaven and hell. Which one will I choose? In that moment, Hur sees a small portion of akhirah. Just a second. I am going towards heaven or hell. That's my choice. What will I choose? Will I choose Hussein or will I choose the enemy of Hussein alayhi salam? Now Hur, of course, chooses Hussein alayhi salam and goes to Abu Abdullah. When he says, I see myself between heaven and hell, he's describing a feeling every Azadar should feel in the same way. In my life, I have a choice. Do I do amal for the sake of chasing Jannah or chasing Jahannam? That decision only comes to us the closer we are to the one who is selling us Jannah. The closer you are to Hussein, the closer you are to becoming a sign of God. This is unity in God. You see the difference now? This is not just knowing God rationally. This is my heart knowing God. My qalb knows Allah. I have ishq for Allah. I have love for Allah. I'm prepared to lay down my life for Allah. I'm not just speaking anymore. I'm living and breathing this path. Unity, true unity, is when I'm trying this, you're trying this, and we help each other on the way towards Allah. All of you come together to this rope of God. All of you having your own desire to meet Allah, wanting to be close towards Him. Ayatullah Nasr al-Shirazi says, this verse of Quran is about you connecting to the Dhat of Allah itself, the essence of God. I can't do something that difficult without you. And you can't do that without the Allah Hussein alayhi salam. So, the message that we have so far, before we conclude, is this. Hablullah, the rope of Allah, is the rope of Ahlul Bayt. Whatever unity me and you're going to try and do over the next few nights, it has to come from following the rope of Hussein alayhi salam. Inshallah. Now, I mentioned to all of you that we will end each discussion with one practical piece of advice for all of us that we can follow in our community right now, of how each and every single one of us can come together to hold on to the rope of God together. Here's today's advice. One of the first things the Holy Prophet does when he reaches Medina is to establish Salatul-Jama'ah, praying together. Ideally, the point is that I want to speak to Allah. Salat is mi'raj of the mu'min. You want to speak to Allah Azza wa Jal. It's recommended to come together in certain times and speak to Allah together. This is Salatul-Jama'ah. Salatul-Jama'ah is one of the most recommended deeds we can do. Salatul-Jama'ah that we have only and only comes from Hablullah Ahlul Bayt. It comes from them. They are the reason why we have Salatul Jama'ah. I'll tell you why. One of our greater ulama in Iran, who is now passed away, Ayatollah Sayyid Mahdi Khonsari, who was leading Salat in Tehran for 25 years in Masjid Azizullah. When he would pray, according to one of the stories, after Iqamah, before Allah Akbar, he'd raise his hand, and while his hands are raised, he would say, Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah. Then he'd start his namaz. So someone says to him, Sayyid, where is this narrated that before Salat says Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah? Where did you get this from? You're doing Salatul Jama'ah. We've come to pray behind you. You're saying Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah. Where did you get this from? Sayyid answers, this amama, this mihrab, this salah, this masjid, this whole marja'iyah and the city of Qom, all of it comes from Aba Abdullah. All of it is from him. How do you mean, Afi, where did I get it from? We got Salat al-Jama'ah from Hussein ibn Ali. Salat al-Jama'ah is so recommended. My advice to all of you is this. Right now, the brothers in SI Education have decided to reopen Salat al-Jama'ah for the youth in that center every Maghrib and Isha. The aim is, and Sayyid Iltiza and Ghazim have started this idea, that me and you and young people in general, if we have plans, let's first come together at somewhere like SI, pray Jama'at together, and then go and do whatever we're going to do. If I'm going to be for dinner, for example, I say, you know what, let me see you at SI, we do Jama'at together, and then we go for dinner. We're going for a football evening match. Why don't we go do Jama'at together and then go and play football? I'm going to someone's house, I'm coming from school. Let's make this Salat of Maghrib Isha part of our own taklif, our responsibility. And right now, we, the youth, inshallah, are trying to make Salat al-Jama'ah something to do more popular together. So to all of you, inshallah, if you have plans, if you're trying to do something, think to yourself, every day at SI Education Royal Road, there's going to be Salat al-Jama'ah led by the youth. Why don't I go there? Why don't I meet someone there? I'll be there sometimes. Why don't we sit and discuss some issues and then do what we're going to do? Let's make Salat al-Jama'ah part of the center of our day again, inshallah. Why? As Sayyid says, we have Salat al-Jama'ah from Hussein ibn Ali himself. I'm leaving the Majlis, I'm leaving Mahad, I'm going to not go to Majlis anymore. But I still have something I gained from Hussein, which is Salat al-Jama'ah. Why? وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Everyone come to the rope of God together. Stand together in Salat and go towards Allah as one unit of Salah. And don't go astray. Here's my advice to all of you, inshallah. In following this verse, and as you continue tomorrow about the rest of the verse, unity for the sake of Allah, to be close to Allah, means I look for anyone else who wants to be close to Allah through the hands of Ahlul Bayt. I grab onto Ahlul Bayt with their hands, and together we go towards Allah, inshallah. Tomorrow we'll continue by discussing how we can increase brotherhood among us by using Hussein ibn Ali to improve genuine brotherhood outside of the Majlis. Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let us now, inshallah, in the last few moments that we have, turn our minds and hearts towards the musibah of Ali Muhammad. Over the last few nights, we have had many majalis of multiple ma'asumeen who have been shaheed in these nights. And many of them have died over the same reason. For example, a few days ago, we had the shahada or the wafat of Rasulullah alayhi salam. The Holy Prophet, which you heard a few days ago, according to many riwayat, he was poisoned. And if he was poisoned, the hadith says his body had become so weak, he needed two people to lift him just to stand. This is Rasulullah we're speaking about. One narration said that Rasulullah had become, the poison had affected him so deeply and so intensely to his body, and not only he couldn't stand, but when he was wearing clothes, his body had become like a stick from the weight he had lost from this poison. How gharib and how mazloom is this family that even that farzand of Rasulullah, he himself has been poisoned in these nights. They say Muhammad, he is poisoned with a poison of such intensity, his whole body shakes after he takes this poison. Not just shakes, while he's lying there on his deathbed, one companion is not sure how much the poison affected him. When he sees his feet, he sees the color has changed even in his feet. His whole body has been affected from head to toe by this poison. This is the house of Ali Muhammad. The Imam Rida alayhi salam, who we remembered a few days ago, this Imam alayhi salam as well. He was poisoned when he went to the court Darbar of Ma'mun, and he ate just 2 grapes. After the second, he realized the poison is too strong. As he leaves the Darbar, he's in so much pain. Someone looks, he says, "Don't speak to me, the pain won't allow me to speak towards you." This is the poison. Many years later, one of the late Imams, someone says to him, "Is it true that all of the Aimma, either you were killed by the sword or by poison?" When I replied, "Not just this, every single one of us was killed by poison, even if the sword killed us." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. While he was in the mihrab, not only the sword struck him, the La'in ibn Mujim laced the sword with poison. So when the sword went in the head of my grandfather Ali, he felt the poison in his body." Even that sword. They said, what about Abu Abdullah? He says, on the day of Ashura, even Abu Abdullah was poisoned. Why? He said, when Hussein was the day of Ashura fighting, one lion took an arrow, dipped the arrow in poison, and shot the arrow. That arrow hit my grandfather Hussein in the chest. When he knelt down, he felt the poison going through his body, but he couldn't pull the arrow. Why? Because behind him, another enemy fired another arrow into his body. So Hussein was covered in so many arrows. Neither he's standing, neither he's lying on the ground. His whole body is covered with arrows. One of them had poison. Every member of this family was killed, those who were shaheed, with poison. So now think, if Hussein is lying like this, how can Sajjad alayhi salam see the body of his father broken like this? One riwayat says, when Sajjad alayhi salam is leaving on Sham as he's leaving, he sees the body of Abu Abdullah. Which body? A body which horses have trampled, a body covered in arrows, a body which has been struck down with spears, a body on which the head has hit the stone. When he sees, he's crying so much, he's weeping. Zainab is worried, thinking, maybe my son, my nephew Sajjad's soul will leave his body from this grief. Zainab thinking, what do I do? He's in so much pain. One ruwayat, she hits her and she falls off the camel. As she falls, she says, Sajjad, look at me, don't look at the body of your father, Hussein. She falls to the ground. As she falls, think about this one thing. There are only two people in our riwayat who, when they fall, they can't use their hands to break their fall. One is Zainab. Why? Because Zainab, her hands were bound with ropes. So when she fell from the camel, she couldn't even break her fall. Zainab falls the hot sands of Karbala. She's one. Who's the other? Look at Abbas. When he falls, he has no left arm to save him, no right arm to save him. Abbas falls to the ground. No arms, with an arrow in his eye. How did Abbas fall to the ground with no arms to break his fall? They fall to the ground. This is this house. When Imam alayhi salam leaves and he can't come back, he has seen the sight of Abdullah buried. The next time he comes back to Karbala is when 3 days after to bury the body of Hussein. The riwayat says, as Sajjad walks back to Karbala, he can smell the ruman of the body of Abu Abdullah. He can see the noor coming from his body. He kneels down, he uncovers the ground. There's a small qabr which has already been made. He takes the body of Abu Abdullah, he lays the body down, he places his cheek next to the cheek of Hussein and says, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. And then Sajjad takes the body of Ali bin Akbar, places the body of his brother on the ground inside his qabr. And then he takes the body of a 6-month-old child and lays that small child on the shoulder of Abu Abdullah on his chest. Every single shaheed, Imam Sajjad buries near him, but there's one shaheed of Sajjad Islam goes to Furat to bury. Why? Abbas says, Ya Abu Abdullah, don't bury my body alongside yours. Imam Sajjad walks to Furat, kneels down and makes a small qabr for Abbas. Now the last time Islam comes back is when the Musafiran and Muslims are going back home. Before they go home, they go back to Karbala. When they go to Karbala, they go towards all of the graves. They say when they go back, Imam Sajjad and Sayyidah Zainab, the first grave they go to, not to Al Muhammad, not to Qasim, not to Abbas. The first grave they go is to Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. They kneel down and they start crying. Zainab sees a small qabr. There is no mashallah in this qabr, there's nothing. She starts weeping and crying. Imam Sajjad says, why are you crying? Zainab says, wow, Gurbata, how ghareeb is my brother. There's no flag, no mark to know whose grave is who. Imam Sajjad says, do you know something, Sister Zainab? Ever since the day of Ashura, my father said has not been alone. Either the Malaika coming for his ziyarat, or the jinn are coming for ziyarat, or the animals are crying for him, or the musafir are coming for him. And one day, some Adadar of Hussein alayhi salam will build a masjid on this qabr and continuously come and mourn for him. Today is that day when we, the Adadar, gather in our masjid saying, we are Abu Abdullah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridwan wa qada'i, ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah. For the sake of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, allow us all to be united under the banner of Abu Abdullah. Ya Allah, for the sake of this majalis, any tears we have shed, any sadness, forgive all of our sins for this majlis, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, any of the Adar of Hussein alayhi salam who just come back from Karbala, if they are unwell, if they have cold, if they are not well, heal and cure all of them, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, inshallah, for the sake of all of our efforts in every majalis we have been through, allow it to make sure that we are worthy of being a soldier from Al-Fajr wa Zaman, inshallah. اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وبها بعد وبنيها والسر المستعوذ فيها أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد.
शम्मा से शम्मा जले सिलसिला जारी रहे हम रहे या ना रहे ये आजादारी रहे शम्मा से शम्मा जले सिलसिला जारी रहे हम रहे या ना रहे ये आजादारी रहे शम्मा से शम्मा जले सिलसिला जारी रहे हम रहे या ना रहे अपनी नस्लों को सिखाते रहो मातम का हुनर सीना दर सीना करे बस ये अज़ा रस्म ये जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। हर शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। लाख बदले ये ज़माने की रविश और मौसम, एक पल भी ना रुके अश्के अज़ार मातम। मातम शह का जुनून ज़हन पर तारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। तुम अगर ज़ाकिर शकीर हो ये याद रहे, चाहे इस गम के लिए सर भी कटे भी चले। हुर्मते फर्शे अज़ा जान से प्यारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादार रहे। शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ये आज़ादार। ये सबीले यूं ही आबाद रहे रे अज़ाब, और घर घर पे नज़र आए अलम गाज़ी का। ये अलम ऊंचा रहे, ये अलम जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादार रहे। हर शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। माँ बहनों को है पैगाम मेरा सिर्फ यही, अपने बच्चों को जुलूसों से नहीं रोको कभी। ये शहादत है शरफ, ये शरफ जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी। अपने घर में ही अज़ाखाना सजाना है मुझे, अपने बच्चों को अज़ादार बनाना है मुझे, ताकि इस नस्ल में भी ताज़िया जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादार रहे। शम्मा से शम्मा जले, सिलसिला जारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी। मजलिस-ए शाम की जिंदा में जो बुनियाद रखी, असर में ज़ैनब सज्जाद की ख्वाहिश थी यही, ये आज़ादार रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे, हम रहे या ना रहे, ये आज़ादारी रहे। है है शम्मा से शम्मा जले सिलसिला जारी रहे हम रहे या ना रहे ये आज़ादार रहे है शम्मा से शम्मा जले सिलसिला जारी रहे हम रहे या ना रहे ये आज़ादार या हुसैन या हुसैन या
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabiyullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Habibullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Khairul Nabiyyin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Amirul Mu'minin. Assalamu alaikum ya Sayyidul Mursalin. Assalamu alaikum ya Wasi Rasul Rabbil Alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Sayyidati Nisa'il Alamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Binti Rasul Rabbil Alamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Fatimah al-Zahra. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Baqiyatul Mu'minin. Assalamu alaikum ya Waris Rasul Rabbil Alamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Hasan ibn Ali Amir al-Mu'minin rahmatan lil muslimin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya min fadlil Abbas ya Nabi al-Mu'minin. Assalamu alaikum ya Zayn al-Kubra min Nasaib. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد ومسلم بن جعفر. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا مغيث الشيعة والدواري في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك يا أيها المدفون بالأردوس. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان وشر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا خليل الرحمن. السلام عليك إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا قارئ القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام زماننا. هذا الله تعالى فرجك وصلى الله مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك حجة الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توها وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.